Okay, we'd like to welcome everybody to meeting number 487 of the Grand Falls-Windsor Town Council. We'll bring the meeting to order. The first order of business is the adoption of the minutes of meeting number 486. Any errors or omissions? Hearing none, I look for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Cody Davis, seconded by Councillor Feener. Any discussion on the minutes of our last meeting? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Any business arising out of the minutes? Hearing none. Move into the disbursement report. Councillor Cody Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm having some iPad difficulties this evening, so I'm relying on a paper copy.
Old-fashioned way.
Yes. I move the disbursement report for November 23rd, 2017 in the amount of $470,753.32.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody Davis, seconded by Councillor Finn. Any discussion on the disbursement report? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Move into committee reports. Economic Development, Tourism, and Heritage. Councillor Whiffen.
The Economic Development, Tourism, and Heritage Committee met on Monday, November 20th, 2017 at 4:30 p.m. In attendance were myself as chair, members Shawn Feener, Councillor Shawn Feener, Councillor Rod Bennett, Mayor Manuel, Deputy Mayor Mike Brown, Councillor Darren Finn, Councillor Amy Cody Davis, and staff of Jeff Saunders, Gary Hennessy, Stan Singh, and Barry Griffin. We first reviewed the first order of business was to review the minutes of the A&D company from November the 8th. The committee reviewed the current minutes and recommended that the Director of Finance contact the Executive Director of the Dinner Theatre about implementing a debit system for payment at the performances. The committee recommended that the minutes be accepted as presented. Then we reviewed the Economic Development Officer objectives for 2018. The committee reviewed the proposed 2018 objectives from the Economic Development Officer. Several recommendations were made. The Economic Development Officer will incorporate those suggestions into a new document and circulate to Council for further review. And that document was compiled and I believe forwarded around to everybody. So that's still ongoing work on that. Then we moved into Budget 2018 for the Economic Development Office. The committee reviewed the budget document for 2018 from the Economic Development Officer. And in those, there were no decisions made there until we had a later meeting where all numbers were combined. We're still reviewing those documents. The committee recommended that it be forwarded to the Finance Administration Committee for further review. And then we reviewed the Business Development Officer objectives for 2018. So the committee once again reviewed the proposed objectives from the Business Development Officer, and several suggestions were made, so to which we'll have to review those again in upcoming meetings. And then we reviewed the Business Development Officer budget for 2018. The committee reviewed the proposed 2018 budget from the Business Development Officer and recommended that it be forwarded to the Finance and Administration Committee for further review. The meeting adjourned at 9 p.m. And of course, this is the initial meeting we had where we, a lot of us gave our input onto the objectives for where we wanted to go with economic development over the next year or more. So there was quite a lengthy discussion there, and hopefully once the objectives are nailed down, everyone will see the results of those conversations. So I move the recommendation and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Whiffen. Yeah, not lengthy minutes, but certainly a lengthy meeting, and that's going to be the theme tonight, I think, that we've been in budget the last few weeks, and there's been a lot of discussion around that, which continues. As a result, the minutes might be looking light, but certainly at the meeting table wasn't so much. So it's been moved by Councillor Whiffen, looking for a seconder, Deputy Mayor Brown. Any discussion on the Economic Development, Tourism, and Heritage minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Parks, Recreation, and Special Events, Councillor Bennett. And before you get into it, Councillor Bennett, there is a couple of items there that need to be removed and dealt with separately. So what I'm going to ask you to do is read into the record the minutes in their entirety, with the exception of the Grand Falls-Windsor pageant and the cheerleading minute. Those two, if you could skip over them, and we'll deal with those after the rest of the minutes, please.
Minutes, Park, Recreation, and Special Events, 4:30 p.m. Tuesday, November the 21st, 2017. Present, Chair myself, Deputy Mayor Mike Brown, Councillor Amy Cody Davis, Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Darren Finn, Councillor Shawn Feener, Councillor Mark Whiffen. Staff was Jeff Saunders, Town Manager Clerk, Keith Adel, Director of Parks and Recreation. Santa Claus Parade. The committee discussed a request from the Santa Claus Parade Committee to assistance in the amount of $750 to make repairs to the Santa Claus Parade float. The committee recommended to award their committee for the amount of $750. Christmas Countdown Facebook Challenge. The director presented the committee with the details for the year's Christmas Countdown Facebook Challenge. The committee recommends staff continue with the planning of the challenge, which is scheduled to start December 1st. 2018 Parks and Recreation Budget. The committee discussed in detail the 2018 Parks and Recreation Department budget, outlining the aims and objectives as well as recommendations for each individual account. The committee recommends to present these budget submissions to the Finance and Administration Department for final revision and approval. The meeting adjourned at 9 p.m. I move recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Bennett. Looking for a seconder. Deputy Mayor Brown. I believe our Director of Finance was at that meeting as well, and he's not reflected in the minutes, so that should be corrected. And any discussion on the Parks, Recreation, and Special Events minutes? Hearing none, I guess just a quick comment about the parade the weekend. I mean, obviously, it turned out to be a fantastic parade. Everybody's raving about it. There was huge participation from the community and huge participation within the parade and certainly along the parade route as well, which was great to see. And I just quickly like to thank the committee who took that on again this year, Wanda and Steve Healy, Des and Bev Hines, and Greg Lake. And I'm sure there were other people involved as well, but that was the main committee who really took it upon themselves to plan what was one of the best parades I can remember in history. And we had a great day for it as well. So it's nice to see, you know, everybody coming out and getting into the community spirit, especially this time of year. Okay, so we've got a mover and a seconder. Looking for any discussion? None? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, we will deal with the Miss Grand Falls-Windsor pageant minute. So, Councillor Feener, if you would excuse us for that, please. Okay, Councillor Bennett, if you would.
Miss Grand Falls-Windsor pageant. The committee discussed a request from the Miss Grand Falls-Windsor pageant committee for the town sponsorship to co-sponsor the event with assistance to booking a facility for the event. The committee recommends the Director of Parks and Recreation make booking arrangement with either the Classic Theatre or the Gordon Pinson Center for the Arts at an approximate cost of $800 to $1,000.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Bennett. Looking for a seconder. Second by Deputy Mayor Brown. Any discussion on that minute? Councillor Finn.
It occurred to me, the Miss Grand Falls-Windsor pageant, isn't that organized by the high school committee?
I don't believe so. I think it used to be.
Anymore?
Used to be through the cheerleaders, at
Yeah.
least the people who were involved with organizing and leading the cheerleaders were also involved with the pageant, but a couple of years ago, they stepped away from it, and you've got a private citizen in the last couple of years who's been running the pageant.
Okay,
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
and all of the revenue and sponsorships goes through the town now, or is that what's going?
No, and in fact, this hasn't been approved yet, just that we would search for, possibly for a venue, and I would even suggest that the price range that's reflected there is not necessarily the price range that I had heard talked about when you look at the two facilities that were potential. Is that correct? $800 to $1,000? I thought it would have been.
Also, as Councillor Finn mentioned, it was operated by the school and the cheerleading committee.
Yeah.
And since then, it's sort of separated. So I asked before we would even consider being involved, that we get correspondence from the school about that the school no longer are operating or want to participate in the pageant. So they did provide a letter to their committee saying
Right.
that they no longer want to be involved, and now that's why they're coming to the town, looking for us to be the, I guess, the co-sponsor organizer to help with the event and finding a location for it, in which they wanted something like the Classic Theatre or the Arts and Culture Center.
Okay.
Councillor Finn? Yeah.
Well, and I can support this if the intention of council is that that there be some kind of formal arrangement or request that council lead it before we commit to any amount of money or book in any venue. If that's not understood, then I don't see how anyone could support it.
Agreed?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it won't be officially approved until we get the cost of potential venue.
I'm waiting for a budget to come back from them.
Okay.
To bring to the next committee meeting. All we were doing right now was seeing if we could get a location for it and to be looking in that $800 to $1,000, and that would be the amount that council would be able to put into this.
Right, possibly.
Possibly.
There for
We don't know
consideration,
what
yeah.
What the budget is or anything yet. So when that comes back, I'll bring this back to committee again with a concrete budget and what, and a location to put it on.
Yep. Okay. Any other discussion on that minute? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. If someone could ask, oh yeah, okay, yeah. Councillor Cody Davis asked Councillor Feener to return, and she is vacating the room for the last minute in Parks, Recreation, and Special Events. Welcome back, Councillor Feener. Councillor Bennett, cheerleading.
EVH cheerleading correspondence. The Director of Parks and Recreation informed the committee that he had been in contact with the principal of EVH regarding the details of the EVH team requesting travel grant assistance. The team does represent EVH and does meet all our travel grant criteria. The committee recommends approval of the travel grant in the amount of $500 as per the grant criteria.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Bennett, seconded by Councillor Finn. Any discussion on the minute? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. If you would, please. Welcome back. Public Works and Planning, Deputy Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Public Works and Planning Committee met on 4:30 Wednesday, November 22nd. Those in attendance were myself as chair, Councillor Darren Finn, Councillor Amy Cody Davis, Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Rod Bennett, Councillor Shawn Feener, and Councillor Mark Whiffen. Staff included Jeff Saunders, our town manager clerk, and Nelson Chapman, our director of engineering and works. First order of business, Mr. Mayor, was the 2018 budget. The committee reviewed the 2018 budget in detail. The committee recommends this be forwarded to the Finance and Administration Department for inclusion in the overall budget and further discussion. Adult Care Facility. The committee discussed a proposal submitted by Kingsway Living Incorporated for an adult care facility at the Maple School property. They have concerns about the tax rates for this type of facility in Grand Falls-Windsor. The committee recommends this be discussed at the next Finance and Administration Committee meeting. Next order of business, Mr. Mayor, was the discretionary use, 14 Shepherd Street. The committee reviewed an application for an Airbnb at 14 Shepherd Street. The owner would use the upper level as a rental. A notice was mailed to the surrounding neighbors and some concerns were submitted. The committee recommends that this be denied as a discretionary use at this time until the appropriate regulations have been drafted and approved. Crown Land Referral, 27 McCarthy Street. The committee discussed a Crown Lands referral for 100 feet of land at the rear of 27 McCarthy Street. This land overlooks the hills and a cranberry farm. The committee recommends that a maximum of 50 feet be approved for this application as per the town's past land sales practice. Carmelite Road, speed signs. The committee reviewed a request for additional signage on Carmelite Road. The request was for a Blind Hill sign and a reduction in the speed limit in this area. The committee recommends staff consult with the municipal police on these concerns and determine the best location for these signs. Garbage collection on narrow streets. The committee discussed the concerns on garbage collection at the narrow streets in Grand Falls-Windsor. There are approximately 12 streets that would be affected with the residents totaling 34. The committee recommends that staff meet with the garbage collection crew to discuss adjustments to the garbage collection to accommodate the residents living on narrow streets in Grand Falls-Windsor and to ensure the safety of our garbage operators. The meeting adjourned at 8 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Brown. Second by Councillor Bennett. Any discussion on the Public Works and Planning minutes?
Mayor,
Councillor Bennett.
I have a question there about the garbage collection. There is a date set. There is a date set for the collection of garbage?
We were hoping to start in early January.
Early January?
And before we implement it, we'll contact all of the residents that are affected.
Okay, all right, perfect, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on the Public Works and Planning minutes?
Just a few comments,
Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, on the Carmelite Road and the speed signs in the Blind Hill. It is a dangerous road. Most of the people accessing the behind the mill for recreational purposes, dirt bikes and quads, use that road. And there is a blind hill there, and it's becoming increasingly dangerous all the time. So we look forward to the municipal police coming back with a report as soon as possible. And that, like I said, is a dangerous street. And at some point, we hope to acquire the mill land, of course, and that would there would be a trail behind, would be a trail on the mill land. We hope to acquire, and this would alleviate the problem on Carmelite Road. But for now, it is a dangerous street, and we look forward to the municipal police department coming back with some recommendations as soon as possible.
Yeah. And as always, of course, we always ask the motoring public to be careful and reduce their speeds around town. I've been noticing lately, especially, this time of year, again, we're at that point where the evenings close in very early. It's completely pitch black by 5 p.m. and we need to slow down. I mean, everybody needs to be careful and aware of their surroundings. We still have pedestrians out there, and of course pedestrians as well should be doing their part by wearing nice bright clothing or reflectors and not take any silly chances crossing roads where you shouldn't be and that sort of thing. So just a reminder to everybody on all our streets to keep that in mind, because sometimes you see people whipping around there and they're well over the speed limit, and there's no need, there can't be that big of a rush to get anywhere in our town unless you got a siren on top of your vehicle. So just, again, asking cooperation in that regard. And sometimes you don't think about it. You're behind the wheel, you got other things going through your mind, and next thing you know, you're above the speed limit by a fair bit. So you'll be doing everybody a favor, I think, if you consciously try to reduce your speed when you are behind the wheel. Any other discussion? Councillor Finn.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make a comment on the request for to set up an Airbnb at 14 Shepherd Street, because the committee recommended that it be denied as a discretionary use at this time until the appropriate regulations are drafted. And I just wanted, for the sake of my own purposes, just go on record and say that I totally support Airbnb, and I believe Council's intention in this particular denial is not that Council doesn't support Airbnb, is that we want time to develop the appropriate regulations so that we find a way that they can operate within our community. To what degree, I don't know what it is. Yet that'll be determined by the full body of Council. But from my own personal perspective, Mr. Mayor, platforms like Airbnb and similar websites that sell accommodation space online in large cities and towns across the world now are the way of the future. And if communities don't get on board this kind of platform and way of doing business, then you get run over. It's an easy way to add accommodations into a community, and so you get so many other benefits. You know, we've talked about for years pursuing hotels. Still think it's critically important to our community to have another hotel, but Airbnb is an easy way to get another 100 rooms in your community without any capital. I mean, spread across your whole community, and you got 100 residents in that scenario that I discussed, all with a viable business going on their property, earning equity and servicing the public. I mean, it's just a win scenario, and these platforms are so powerful and growing, and it's just the way of the future. So, and I recognize some residents oppose this particular application, but there are some others in town that are successfully running, and they operate as a normal residence. Traffic coming and going from that house is no more than regular residents. Like, I get up, I mean, my house is, you know, normal coming and going off a single family home, but so is an Airbnb. They're same. Just renting your house on a daily basis or weekly, whatever it becomes. So I just want to go on record and say I fully support it, and when I talk about regulations, development, my lens is how to accommodate it. Just, you know, get out of the way and let business go. So I just want to go on record with that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Finn. Deputy Mayor Brown.
Just on the Airbnb, I think all council agrees this is a good idea and we need Airbnb in our town, but the problem with the Airbnb is some neighbourhoods are concerned that those filling up the Airbnbs around town create noise and disruptions in an otherwise quiet neighbourhood. And I think that's what the citizens from Shepherd Street were afraid of. So there's no one against Airbnbs, but the rules and regulations that we're about to develop as a council, as Councillor Finn stated, would certainly take into account any noise bylaws with respect to being, in, like I said, in otherwise quiet neighbourhoods. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, there's no doubt that, you know, like any other business that operates within our community, there's certain recommendations and expectations on that business to operate accordingly and conditions set forth, and it would be no different with an Airbnb. And if a particular business or Airbnb in this case, if and when it does happen, which I'm sure it will, if there are issues, then we would address them with the normal course of action based on the conditions set forth. So I look forward to the discussion, and I agree with Councillor Finn that, you know, we just need to embrace this. It's the way of the future. It's the way of the present, I guess, even in many cases now. And what'd you say? If you don't do it, you get run over. I like that. Okay, so any other discussion on the Public Works and Planning minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Finance and Administration, Councillor Cody Davis. Again, we have a couple of separations to deal with. So, again, I'll ask the same as Councillor Bennett, if you would read the minutes in their entirety and skip those two items, and we'll deal with those after.
Okay. Finance and Administration met on Thursday, November 23rd at 4:30 p.m. In attendance, myself as the chairperson, Councillor Darren Finn, Councillor Mark Whiffen, Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Shawn Feener, Councillor Rod Bennett, Deputy Mayor Mike Brown, and staff were Jeff Saunders, Town Manager Clerk, and Barry Griffin, the Director of Finance and HR. The labor report. The committee reviewed the labor costs as of week 46. The labor was $3,054,537, and this was $18,602, or a negative 0.6 over budget. The committee recommends that staff continue to monitor labor costs. The disbursement report. The committee reviewed the disbursement report in the amount of $470,753 and recommends that this be presented at the next council meeting. And our next item was the YMCA financial report. The committee reviewed the projected financial position for 2017. The committee recommends that staff meet with representatives of the YMCA to discuss the results, and the operating grant be further discussed during the budget. Budget 2018. The committee reviewed the budget objectives for 2017 and 2018 and the proposed budget for 2018. The committee recommends these be further reviewed during the budget preparation. And our meeting adjourned at 9, and I move the recommendations and the report of the committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody Davis, seconded by Deputy Mayor Brown. Any discussion on the finance and administration minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, we got a couple of things to separate from the minutes. And the first one is to do with Corduroy Brook. So, again, the other one is with the union contract. So 6 and 1, half a dozen the other. Councillor Bennett, you can excuse us, and then I'll come get you when it's my turn. Councillor Cody Davis.
The union contract. Councillor Rod Bennett excused himself from the meeting at this time due to a perceived conflict of interest. The committee reviewed the proposed union contract for town workers. The contract covers the years 2017 to 2020. The total wage increase is 10.5% over 4 years, and the committee recommends that this agreement be accepted.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody Davis, seconded by Councillor Finn. Any discussion on that minute? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, I'll excuse myself for the next bit now, and I ask Deputy Mayor if he would take over for that minute.
We'll wait for Councillor Bennett to return. Okay, Councillor Amy Cody Davis.
Thank you. Corduroy Brook Enhancement Association financial report. The committee reviewed the Corduroy Brook Enhancement Association financial report for the year ended March 31st, 2017, and the reporting for this is required under the community grant policy. And I move the recommendation that financial report was accepted.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Cody Davis, can I have a seconder for a motion? Councillor Bennett, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll ask the Mayor to step back in, please.
Okay. Next order of business, we got a couple of resolutions to deal with, so I'll ask Councillor Cody Davis, being that they're financial in nature, to deal with those, please.
Sure. Grand Falls-Windsor 2017, and we don't have another number after that.
They will be numbered later.
They'll be numbered after we, okay.
Number
What was that?
one, he said.
Number 1, yeah. We'll call this number 1 and number 2. The resolution, whereas under Section 94 of the Municipalities Act of the Province of Newfoundland and Labrador, subject to the approval of the Minister, Council may borrow monies and issue securities for the repayment of monies borrowed. And whereas it is deemed necessary to borrow the amount of $857,730 to finance 2017 capital projects. Therefore, be it resolved that subject to the approval of the Honourable Minister of Municipal Affairs, Council borrow this amount from CIBC Chartered Bank in Grand Falls-Windsor at a fixed rate, 15-year term. This amount to be repaid by general revenues over a 15-year amortization. Be it also resolved that the Mayor and Director of Finance be authorized to negotiate said loan, to sign promissory notes, and execute all documents pertaining to this resolution. I so move.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody Davis, seconded by Councillor Bennett. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Resolution, again.
Okay, we'll call this one number 2. Whereas under Section 94 of the Municipalities Act of the Province of Newfoundland and Labrador, subject to the approval of the Minister, Council may borrow monies and issue securities for the repayment of monies borrowed. And whereas it is deemed necessary to borrow the amount of $751,264 to finance 2017 capital projects. Therefore, be it resolved that subject to the approval of the Honourable Minister of Municipal Affairs, Council borrow this amount from CIBC Chartered Bank in Grand Falls-Windsor at a fixed rate 10-year term. This amount to be repaid by general revenues over a 10-year amortization. Be it also resolved that the Mayor and Director of Finance be authorized to negotiate said loan and to sign promissory notes and execute all documents pertaining to this resolution. I so move.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody Davis, seconded by Councillor Finn. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, next up we have Committee of the Whole. I believe there's 2 sets of minutes. Oh, Salmon Festival. It's not on my hard copy form, that's fine. Salmon Festival. Okay. Councillor Feener, sorry about that.
No problem, sir. Salmon Festival meeting was held at 4:30 p.m. Tuesday, November 28th at 2017. President was myself, Chair. Members, Mayor Barry Manuel, Deputy Mayor Mike Brown, Councillor Rod Bennett, Councillor Mark Whiffen, Councillor Darren Finn, Councillor Amy Cody Davis, staff, Jeff Saunders, Town Manager Clerk, Nelson Chapman, Director of Engineering and Works, Keith Antle, Director of Parks and Recreation, Barry Griffin, Director of Finance. The committee discussed several options for the Salmon Festival concert, as well as an event in the stadium for Sunday night. Details will be presented when available for discussion. Salmon Festival will be held from July the 12th to the 16th of 2018. The meeting adjourned at 6 p.m. I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Feener, second by Councillor Bennett. Any discussion on the Salmon Festival minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Now we'll move into Committee of the Whole. And there are 2 sets of minutes there, Deputy Mayor Brown, even though it's not reflected on my hard copy. Oh yeah, they're there on the iPad. So when you're ready, you get into the first set of November 28th, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Committee of the Whole met at 6 p.m. Thursday, November 28th. Those in attendance were myself as chair. Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Rod Bennett, Councillor Amy Cody Davis, Councillor Shawn Feener, Councillor Darren Finn, Councillor Mark Whiffen. Staff included Jeff Saunders, Town Manager Clerk, Nelson Chapman, Director of Public Works and Planning, Keith Antle, Director of Parks and Recreation, and Barry Griffin, Director of Finance and Human Resources. First order of business, Mr. Mayor, were the Abitibi lands. The committee reviewed a drawing identifying some former Abitibi lands around the mill area. Government has requested a letter from the town outlining what we want to have transferred to the town. The committee recommends staff draft a letter to the minister requesting the following. 1. All lands as identified on attached aerial photo be transferred to the town. 2, 10 acres will be assigned to the Grand Falls House Mill Manager's House property. 3, the Grand Falls House and Mill Manager's House be transferred to the town when remediation work is complete. 4, a maintenance fee to be paid by government to the town of Grand Falls, to the Grand Falls House property. The length of the maintenance agreement is open for discussion. 5, government to assume all environmental liabilities associated with the Abitibi property. 6, government to provide council with the latest test pit monitoring well information on environmental contamination. 7, government to upgrade access road on mill lands to connect to Scott Avenue. And 8, training center to be transferred to the town free of charge. This building would have been demolished if town staff had not intervened. Second order of business was the DA construction land, 1C Valley Road. The land at 1C Valley Road is for sale, and it has been suggested the town purchase it as it is adjacent to existing town land. The committee recommends the town not purchase the land at this time. It is also important that the owner and real estate agent to be made aware this land is zoned conservation and any development on this property is restrictive. Personal care home proposal. The committee reviewed a request to purchase the Maple Avenue land for a new long-term care facility. This will be approximately 120 beds for level 1 and 2, with the potential to convert some rooms to level 3 and 4 if approved by government. The company has offered $240,000 plus legal, survey, HST, and road service infrastructure upgrade as a purchase price. If agreements could be finalized quickly, site work may commence immediately. Building construction is expected to start in the spring of 2018 and open fall of 2018. The committee recommends this offer be accepted and that staff draft the necessary purchase and sales agreements. Ski Chalet Schedule A change. The committee reviewed a request to reprofile multi-year capital works projects funding to provide an additional $150,000 to complete the interior of the ski chalet. No new money is required as this is within the existing funding agreement. The committee recommends this be approved. The 2018 budget, the committee discussed information presented on the 2018 municipal operating budget and recommends additional meetings as necessary to finalize the document. The meeting adjourned at 9:30 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Finn. Any discussion on the committee of the whole minutes number 1? Councillor Finn.
Just, Mr. Mayor, when these minutes are adopted and put online, I think the attachment for the Abitibi lands should be attached to those minutes online. Just to give some context to the public in terms of the area of land that we are requesting from the Crown.
Yeah, good idea. Should be able to do that for sure. And just a point of clarity or note, when it comes to the Abitibi lands, there were multiple letters already written to government requesting that land over the last couple of years anyway, if not 3 years. And just recently, government has asked the town to refine that request to determine the exact boundaries and some more considerations around a potential land transfer. But this is not the first time that we will be requesting that land. Any other discussion on the first set of committee of the whole minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Committee of the whole minutes, November 29th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Committee of the whole met 6 p.m. Wednesday, November 29th. Those in attendance were myself as chair, members Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Rod Bennett, Councillor Amy Cody Davis, Councillor Shawn Feener, Councillor Darren Finn, Councillor Mark Whiffen. Staff included Jeff Saunders, Town Manager Clerk, Nelson Chapman, Director of Engineering and Works, Keith Hentel, Director of Parks and Recreation, and Barry Griffin, Director of Finance and Human Resources. Budget 2018. The committee reviewed the financial documents presented as part of the 2018 budget preparation. The committee recommends additional meetings be scheduled to continue the discussions and decision on Budget 2018. The meeting adjourned at 10:30 p.m. and I move the recommendation and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Brown. Seconded by Councilor Feener. Any discussion on the second set of minutes? Once again, a set of minutes that I know is not a lot of meat in there, but it's all around our budget discussions, and we will continue that exercise for the next little while, hopefully to finalize it soon. We've got a mover and seconder on those minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Notice of motion. We do have a notice of motion from our last council meeting. Councilor Finn had brought that forward, and we'd ask now that you would read that into the record.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's regarding the taxi regulations issue that was addressed in the last meeting. So this is in follow-up. The notice of motion, taxi regulations. Whereas the town of Grand Falls-Windsor maintains taxi regulations that are intended to ensure a safe and reliable public transportation service. Whereas the town of Grand Falls-Windsor only has licenses for 5 taxi companies to operate, and council is responsible to ensure a reliable service is always provided. Be it resolved that the taxi regulations be amended to regulate what happens to a taxi operator's license when they cease operation and what conditions a taxi license may be sold to another operator, albeit any transfer of a license must be approved by council. Be it further resolved that the taxi regulations be amended to reflect that a taxi company who ceases operation for up to 30 days shall fully forfeit their license and shall not be permitted to renew their annual license in any case. Taxi operators who pay any annual fees shall be refunded those fees that were paid for that period while they were not in active operation. Be it further resolved that when a taxi operator ceases operation for greater than 30 days, that their permit be fully forfeited. The determination that a taxi business is not operational shall be based on no metering, daily activity, and/or no response calls for service when checked by the town inspector. Taxi operators must provide verifiable records of daily metering activity, otherwise council will assume there is no activity when addressing such circumstances. Be it further resolved that when a taxi operator elects to sell a business, this business must remain in an active operation during the entire sale and beyond. Be it further resolved that when a taxi license becomes available because an operator ceases operation, then this license will immediately be available to the public through a public expression of interest process that is finally approved by council. Be it also further resolved that the new amended taxi regulations will be reviewed through committee in a discussion that includes the above recommended changes with a process for public input and finally presented to the public in March 2018 in a March 2018 public meeting. Mr. Mayor, I also move this resolution.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Finn, seconded by Councilor Cody Davis. Any discussion on the resolution? Of course, it will be forwarded to committee for discussion as is reflected in the resolution, but certainly anybody is still welcome to comment now if they so choose. Councilor Finn.
I'll add, Mr. Mayor, just I think the resolution speaks for itself. There's really not a decision for council here other than council is agreeing to discuss all of these points in its committee deliberations. And we're committing to refining the policy by March and that there be a process for public engagement. So there's lots of latitude for council to do its work. And I think plenty of time. It's not a complicated regulation. Mm-hmm. And I think it addresses some issues with respect to a scenario where we decided in the last meeting to allow the transfer of a license regarding the sale of a business, and some issues that I had with that transaction. Not all councillors felt that way, and that's fair enough. However, I think the regulations should deal with these scenarios of what to do when a business stops operating, therefore not providing a service to the public. So remember, we have responsibility to provide reliable transportation through these restricted licenses. And so how we deal with those situations, and that's clearly not dealt with in the regulations, and I think it could easily be dealt with just through our experience. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I look forward to the discussion. Any other comments on that resolution? Hearing none, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Any new notice of motion? No new notice of motion, isn't it? Yeah. It's getting close to Christmas. Other business. Check to see whose turn it is to go first tonight, and it is Councilor Feener. Councilor Feener.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to acknowledge some town employees we have, and again, all of our town employees, Mr. Mayor, and all council are very valuable people in our community. They're our frontlines workers. And just a note here on November the 19th, 2017, a lady on Lincoln Road had a major sewage spillage in her house. And she wanted me to read this paragraph that a town employee had addressed, and she was really happy and grateful that this employee had did this, and I really want to stand before council today and just read this paragraph. It says, "Hi Shawn, I just wanted to send a little shout out for John Burke and the way he handled my situation when the sewer line broke in my house. He was very professional and immediately took action to have someone come to clean the sewer in my basement. More importantly, he showed real concern for me and where I've been sick and strongly suggested that I get out of my house so that not to breathe in any more toxic fumes. I saw my doctor later that evening, and he said it was a good thing that I did. John was really good with us, and he took a lot of pressure off me that day. He checked in on me a few times to make sure I was okay. I really appreciate it, and I was very stressed with the whole situation. And I want to acknowledge Mr. Burke and for his work that he did above and beyond. Thank you."
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Feener. And of course, as you noted, we're very proud of the way the town staff goes about his business. It's always, I shouldn't say it's always, but it's never easy when you have those sorts of situations. A lot of stress on homeowners when they have sewage backups or water issues or whatever the case may be. And certainly we encourage town staff to continue to do the great work that they do and to handle things just as Mr. Burke had in that situation. So congratulations to him and all our staff for continuing to do good work, and thanks to that resident for feeling necessary to pass that note along as well. Councilor Whiffen.
Again, I'd just like to recognize some achievements of local sports teams and athletes. On November 17th, there was the Central Zone Biathlon Championships held here in Grand Falls-Windsor, and there were 50 competitors from Central Newfoundland at that event. We have Alyssa Wiseman from our athletes from here. Alyssa Wiseman won a silver medal in the junior female category, and Penny Dove won a bronze medal in the junior female category. And we also have in the teen category, we have Alyssa Wiseman and Brock Tuck, who won a gold medal in the junior team category, and Penny Dove and Trent Bannister won a bronze medal in the junior team category. Alyssa Wiseman and Brock Tuck, as zone champions, will advance to the provincial competition in Corner Brook in January, where there will be 60 athletes from across Newfoundland and Labrador competing for a place at the national competition. I'd also like to recognize the EVI Eagles female team who won a gold medal in their Western Under 15 competition in Pasadena, and they also won a gold medal at their Central Regional Under 14 Championships on November 25th. And I'm not sure if many other people know, but the Grand Falls-Windsor Cataracts female Under 12 team recently won a contest to participate in the Hockey on the Hill tournament to be held in Ottawa to commemorate the Canada 150 event. And that tournament will be on the rink that's recently been built on Parliament Hill. So, and their name will be displayed on the outside of the rink, on the outside of the rink board. So another, I guess, national recognition for the Grand Falls-Windsor Cataracts in the same year. And, you know, obviously our athletes are representing us well across Newfoundland and Labrador in various sports. So it's good to see the continued representation from our town in all these places.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Whiffen. Councillor Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have any other business this evening.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of items. I was at the stadium all week, Joe Byrne Stadium most of the weekend. The Grand Falls-Windsor Cataracts played the Gander Flyers, and I must say I was pleasantly entertained. It was two great games, feisty, hard-hitting, and I think a new rivalry was born this weekend because, like I said, Saturday night's game went into overtime, and a 4-3 win for the Cataracts, and Sunday afternoon was 4-2 for the Cataracts again, and an empty net goal. But for anybody that hasn't had the opportunity to take in the Grand Falls-Windsor Cataracts up to this point, I suggest you take in the games because they are very entertaining. And the Cataracts' next game is Friday 8:30 here at the Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium against the Clarenville Caraboos. The annual tree lighting, Mr. Mayor, is this Thursday, December 7th, 6:30 p.m. at the Fire Hall. And the town band will be in attendance to provide some Christmas music for all those in attendance. And lastly, the Exploits Jazz Band. Their Christmas concert is this Monday, December 11th at 8 p.m. at the Arts and Culture Centre, and tickets are available for that concert as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brown. Councillor Cody Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things tonight. First off, you mentioned the Santa Claus Parade earlier, but I just wanted to touch on it in a little more detail. The Santa Claus Parade was held last Saturday, and thanks to Rogers Communications, it did air on Rogers Channel 9. It will air again tomorrow at 4 o'clock and Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. for those of you who didn't get to come out and see the parade live in action. It was a fantastic parade. We had 54 floats. I think there was 72 or 74 vehicles in the parade, which is amazing. Hats off again to the organizers, Wanda and Steve Healy, Des and Bev Hines, and as well as Greg Lake. So we thank you for continuing to keep that parade alive. As we know, when the Lions Club kind of disbanded a couple of years ago, there was uncertainty as to whether or not the parade would continue. And thankfully for those people, they stepped in and have done a great job. So thank you to them. There was over $1,000 in cash collected for donations, through donations for the food bank, as well as food items that were collected as well. So that is a huge help for the food bank. I wanted to mention the float winners. Best overall float was Provincial Home Care. The best original float was the Bishops Falls Correctional Center. The best commercial float was Newfoundland Power, and the best non-commercial float was Woodland Primary. And also the Autism Society got an honorable mention. They had a lovely float as well. And the best depicting Christmas was St. Albans Church. And I have to apologize to St. Albans Church because in the hustle and bustle of and excitement of the parade, and in the talks with Reverend Randy Lockyer leaving town from Holy Trinity Anglican Church, and I just had a major brain lapse and mentioned that the St. Albans Church float was actually from the town of St. Albans. God forgive me. Anyway, it is actually St. Albans Church on Masters Avenue. They had a beautiful float of an old-fashioned church, and it was great. And it was so nice to see them participating, and all of the churches participating in the parade all had wonderful floats, certainly reminding us that Christmas is not about Santa Claus, but about the real reason for the season, which of course is the birth of Jesus, which is what we are celebrating. So again, as the as the parade airs on Rogers, just hit mute when you see when you see the St. Albans Church from Masters Avenue in Grand Falls, Windsor. Come by, mute your TVs, and just enjoy the work that went into that float. And we certainly appreciate them for participating. I wanted to say that myself and Mayor Manuel did walk on Sunday in the Keep Christ in Christmas Walk. So I want to say thanks to the Ministerial Association and, of course, to Wildman Blackmore for organizing that walk again this year. The weather was a little bit better this year than it was last year, and it was a great turnout. Thanks to the Fire Hall for offering their facility for us as well. Just a wonderful event. And I also want to mention the art procurement, and I'm not sure which camera, okay, Des is there, that's good, because I wanted to highlight a couple of the pieces from the art procurement. Myself and Mayor Manuel, Catherine Musso, and Andre Hudson had the pleasure of, and the very difficult task of selecting items for the art procurement program for the town of Grand Falls-Windsor, which we do every year. This year we extended the deadline and we reached out to the schools, the primary, elementary, intermediate, and high school. And I want to show you why we did that, because this is the quality of work that we're receiving. This piece is by Olivia Stacy, who is, she's a high school student.
Grade 12.
Yeah, grade 12 student in Grand Falls, Windsor. And I don't know how clear the picture is on camera, but if you're familiar with Sanger Park and the old car wreck that's in the hill there as you're walking up the trail, that's what this is. Now, when you look up closer, you can really pick it out, but that's one piece of art that we received and was selected. And the other piece is, which I love, is The Mermaid by Laurel Easton. And Laurel is 9 years old, and she's a student at Sprucewood Academy. So this is the piece that she submitted, which was also selected by the committee and the judges. So you can see now why we did extend that program. It was such a difficult task. We had so many beautiful pieces, and you know, we did our best, and we had to go around 3 or 4 times to kind of make up our minds. And you know, you look at a piece and you see it differently every time you look at it. So you know, we had some well-known artists and some lesser-known artists who have just started to come on scene and start doing their work. So thanks to everybody who submitted. We would have loved to purchase them all. Unfortunately, our budget didn't allow. We did go a little over budget, and but we're okay with that because, like I said, the quality of work was just tremendous. So thanks to everybody, and we look for lots more submissions for our 2018 program. Thank you.
I'm glad you touched on that. That was impressive, to say the least, to see. I think in my rough estimation, there was somewhere around $25,000 worth of art that was submitted for the program. And as Councillor Coley Davis said, we had the unenviable task of having to select you know, less than 20% of that we could actually purchase from our budget. But we certainly thank everybody for submitting the art and look forward to more of the same in 2018. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to send a big congrats out to one of our citizens. Laurie Ballard just received the Canada 150 Senate Award. I've known Laurie for quite a few years, and I really believe that she's truly deserving of this award. Congrats to Laurie. This past weekend I attended the River Gold Christmas dinner at the golf course, and it was a wonderful event, and I certainly hope it continues again next year. It was a wonderful time. The tree lighting, as we mentioned earlier, 6 p.m. on Thursday at the Fire Hall. We're looking forward to seeing you there. As mentioned twice before about the Santa Claus Parade, thank you to Wanda and Steve Healy, again, Des and Bev, Hines, Greg Lake. Also, I'd like to thank Keith Ample, our Director of Parks and Rec, Rod Drake and his staff, absolutely super job once again. One more piece of business I'd like to talk about is the Salvation Army kettle. as you're out and about over the holiday season, if you can dig a little deeper in your pockets and give to the kettle. As a retired firefighter, I've seen firsthand of what Salvation Army does for the community. So if you just dig a little deeper in your pockets and throw an extra few dollars there, it would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Well, I guess most of our stuff got ticked off as it went around there. I just got a couple of things. One is the town's Facebook page and the active daily contests that we've been running now since the beginning of December, and will continue up to Christmas, and encourage everybody to go onto our Facebook page and see what the contest of the day is, and enter for a chance to win a prize, and lots of fun doing that. And on the first day of our Christmas countdown, we had a Give Back Day, and I was fortunate to be involved in that along with Santa Claus. And we went around and delivered, and Councillor Bennett also joined us, and we delivered 10 thank you letters through a post on Facebook there a couple of weeks ago. We asked for people to name citizens in the community who go above and beyond and make Grand Falls-Windsor a better place to live. And we received somewhere around 150 plus submissions of names. So we sent a letter to everybody. Everybody got a letter thanking them for what they do in the community. And further selected were 10 groups or individuals who we delivered a letter to, and a free ticket to next year's Salmon Festival. We also went to the dialysis unit at the hospital as the group there, or no, actually Norma Sims from the dialysis unit was nominated, and the nurses on 2D were also nominated, so we brought over some coffee and donuts to them. But it was great to see, like, a lot of these people had no idea that we were showing up, and we, come in, myself and Santa Claus, and they thought we were there for some other purpose, of course. And then when we said we were there for them, you could see the shock on their face, So then when we went further and told them what was going on, I must say it was very nice to see the expression of gratitude from them, and the fact that they really appreciated the town recognizing what they did in a very modest way, I would say, in many cases. But it was a lot of fun, and I'd encourage everybody to go on our Facebook page and see what's happening tomorrow for the contest, and then you'll probably get the bug for the rest of the Christmas season. We also have on Sunday at 6 p.m. something new. It'll be the lighting up of Gorge Park and decorating, I guess, of Gorge Park. So we're asking citizens to come out. I would assume there'll be some hot chocolate and some goodies and that on the go there. And we'll be decorating Gorge Park as a new activity this Christmas season. Should be a lot of fun. That's at 6 p.m. on Sunday. Lori, I should mention, I know Councillor Bennett mentioned as well, Lori Baller, very deserving citizen. I know she went to Ottawa, was at the Senate, was very overwhelmed, I think, with the whole experience, but she did indicate that she was very glad she went, and was the recipient of a beautiful medal and a book that was signed, and spent some time with Senator David Wells and a few other people in Ottawa, and rubbed some elbows and that kind of stuff. She had a great time, so congratulations to Lori, very well deserved. The last thing I'll mention, as most, if not everybody, already has heard, that the provincial government just this last week now had announced that there'll be 60 new long-term care beds by way of a new facility built in Grand Falls-Windsor, which was welcome news to say the least. There's been a lot of talk around long-term care, the lack of beds, the fact that we have been seeing our citizens sent out of our community into other communities, which is totally inappropriate. And I should commend Deputy Mayor Brown for his efforts in lobbying, and John Burke as well, who were at the forefront and put a lot of pressure on government and held rallies and meetings and wrote letters, and I do believe that it definitely made a difference. So thanks for your efforts. The 60-bed facility is expected. Government are going out for a request for qualified contractors, and then they would go to a request for proposals, and then the planning would take place in 2018 with the building and facility to be operational by 2021. So still a ways to go before we actually see that facility constructed, but definitely good news that that ball has started rolling. So with that, I don't have anything else for this evening. We will be meeting sometime in the near future to bring down our 2018 budget. I know everybody is looking forward to that. We, as the minutes again indicated tonight, spent a lot of hours in our boardroom in the last few weeks going over the budget, and we still have a few more hours left to go before we finalize things, but we will have a meeting, and at that time certainly we'd have more opportunity to pass along Christmas greetings to our wonderful community. So with that said, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Brown, and a seconder. Councillor Bennett. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. We'll see you next time.